the applicable. Thank you, Rod. Pursuant to the applicable law and my determination that attendance by the remote means is necessary today because an in-person meeting is not practical nor prudent due to declared public health disaster caused by COVID-19. This meeting is conducted via video conference, and this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the SSA website immediately following. All right, number one on our agenda is our minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen and pull them up.
Thanks, Rod.
Okay. And let's pages. Okay, everybody see the minutes?
All right. Does anyone have any changes or need another minute? All right, no changes. Then the minutes are accepted as circulated. Thanks, Rod.
Okay.
We've got a few guests on this line, which is delightful. Would any of our guests like to ask a question or comment at this period?
Not me, thank you.
Okay, so we can get into the financials. Isaac, let's see here. Isaac, are you in the line? Okay, no Isaac today?
No Isaac. What I'll do is I'll just go over a brief explanation of the financials. Actually, Isaac generally starts here. I'm not going to pretend to be Isaac, but basically he goes through the total assets and the change for 2021 and 2022. Then he looks at the total liabilities, and then he goes to the bottom line, the total liabilities and assets. So at this point, this is more or less his report on the statement of financial position. I will do a very quick one of the budget versus actuals. And commissioners, you all should have this. I'm just going to go over it fairly quickly for the guests that are on. And we have the total net profit. I'll talk about this a little bit later. And we have the budget remaining. And at this point, we seem to be about $147 negative. I'll explain that a little bit more in my report. But we have I'm sorry, this is actually, nope, let me stand corrected as I said. Our customer attraction, we have about 65,000 left. Same with public way aesthetics. In our total, I'm sorry, in our aesthetics, we haven't spent anything in the budget, nor have we done it for our sustainability in public places. Our management, we have about 11,000 left, and our personnel, we have about 29,000 left. This is a specific issue I'm going to address because this number isn't accurate as presented. Any questions about the finances? I'll try and field the answers as best I can. Okay. Next one is the budget tracker. Can everyone see the budget tracker? Okay, good. In our finance meeting, both the budget tracker and the financials that Isaac presented They were both presented in the finance meeting. Many of you all have this, but George's numbers through the budget tracker concurred with Isaac's numbers. So is there any questions in terms of the budget tracker? Okay.
I'm gonna get into it this one in a little bit, I think, when I speak later in the meeting. But you mentioned in the financials there was something that needed to be updated.
Right.
Do you maybe we should withhold taking a vote to approve these financials until that update's made, and we'll approve them at the next meeting? Is that, I don't want to approve report that you're telling us needs to be updated.
Okay.
Rod, if you will scroll down a little bit further toward the
Okay,
bottom of the
George.
budget tracker,
Okay.
you'll see the cells that are in yellow under personnel, I believe are the numbers that you're going to be talking about.
Correct.
And is my understanding that the changes have been made, that these are revised numbers. If you look at the very bottom, there's an extra row of yellow cells. Those were the original numbers that we had in the budget and in the budget tracker, and they have been superseded by these new numbers. Now, I'm not sure if the new numbers were finalized or not, but the new numbers for program manager and office administrator were correct, we think, as of our finance committee meeting last week.
Right. They were correct as of the finance committee meeting last week. So what's being reported is what was correct at the time.
So Rod, are you saying that they're not correct anymore?
They are not correct as of today. They are correct as of the finance meeting. I did bring up an issue, and I might as well go into that now.
Okay.
The commissioners voted in a full-time program manager and also changes to the office manager. The issue is that the FICA component, which is on our budget, the SSA fringe, it's the one benefit that the employer pays, and FICA, this is Social Security and Medicare, is usually split between the employee and the employer for a W-2 employee. So the fringe, it's in addition to the employee salary. That was incorrectly calculated. It was low. So these numbers as presented in the program manager and the office admin are low. We did do a correction. I wanted to make sure that that correction was in place. I'll talk it over with Isaac to make sure we have the real numbers. That's going to be submitted as a budget adjustment for all the commissioners to approve in the next meeting. What I have to do is I have to go into category 6, and I have to find the money so that the budget balances.
But we've already done that. And so we will present that at our next meeting.
George, I apologize for going through the report. I didn't see you on the Zoom call.
And I think Isaac has joined us, Rod, since you began.
Okay.
Hey, Isaac, how's it going?
Going great, going great. 1 second.
Your timing is perfect. Have you heard this last minute of conversation?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, what he's saying is just the way that we've kind of broken out the salary. We saw that one number of just salary, and that's the base salary. What we have to do just going forward is salary and Social Security taxes, which is the 7.5%. So the employee pays portion of that goes towards the Social Security, and then the employer matches that. So that's the cost of the organization. So based upon that, that's what's going to take. So the base is 52, And then the increase is going to be the organization's portion of that 7.5. So half of that 7.5, the employee pays, and that's 3.75, and then half the employee pays. So the organization has to pay that additional portion of it. So we kind of went through it. So on the July financials, you'll see that reflective of the change from April through July. So that's as it relates to the salary piece.
And so
Um,
then,
Please go ahead.
so then that number is going to change for the rest of the year then, right?
Yeah, so if you come right back over here, let me take you to the budget versus actual. What's going to happen is, so right now, this number is 52. That number is going to go up to about 55. And at 55, the difference is that's all going towards Social Security, that obligation that the organization has to pay on behalf of the employee.
Now, is that also for the office administrator?
Yeah, so both of those will go up. So hers is gonna be a little bit lower, but each of those will go about 3.75%, the difference in that rate. So that $1,000 is you have a little bit, 3.75% of that, you're gonna have a increase.
Okay.
So what we'll do is, for clarity, so everybody can see it in the future, right now, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break this out: manager salary, manager taxes, total, administrative salary, administrative taxes, total. So that you'll be able to see it clearly broken out.
Thank
Right.
you.
I do have one question about that. I don't
Sure.
understand why the overall salary total should change.
Because the base, so this is just base salary. So this is base. So this is his actual salary right here. So this does not include taxes. This is just strictly salary. What the organization has agreed to pay the employee is $52,000.
Yeah. That,
Now so then
11:16 now.
right.
It's over in-
So then when we come to the
As soon as I'm off. Okay.
okay, go on mute, brother E. Thompson.
Sorry. Sorry.
No problem. So that's base salary. But then when we put the taxes pieces on there, right? That's the cost to the organization. So you got the employer. So that is $52,000. When Rob gets his check, we withhold some of that, right? 3.75, he doesn't get it because we send that to Social Security because they're gonna pay that towards his retirement. But then there becomes a cost to the organization of 3.75. That's why I'm gonna split this out. So you see this is base salary, and then this is a Social Security Medicare tax that the organization is obligated to pay on behalf of the employee. So
Right.
that's why this total cost is gonna go up.
But here's the issue. Hasn't all of those taxes been paid already? It's just that they were deducted from Rod's salary rather than being paid by the SCCC. It's not that they haven't been paid. They have been paid. They've just been paid.
No,
correctly.
you're correct. So what we
let me get in and answer that because I've been going over this like crazy. The taxes have been paid because the salary number that went in was the quoted salary, the 52,000 minus the 7.65%. So the number that went in was about 49,000. So the taxes were paid. It was just paid on the wrong base.
So it seems to me that what this is calling for is a reimbursement to the employee who is paying the wrong taxes and not an inadvertent pay raise. It's not like we sent out an RFP, we advertised what the job was worth. We can't just arbitrarily say we're now paying a different amount. The salary was set at 52, the salary should be kept at 52.
We got two things going on, George. Initially, Rob has been paid on 50,000. Okay, but he should have been paid on 52, right? So we did have a salary adjustment because initially from April through June, Rob was paid at 50,000, right? Then they brought it to my attention with the budget modification. It should have been 52. right? As of April 1st. So that was a $2,000 adjustment to his salary. So that had to be, make that adjustment. In addition to that, for the overall cost to the organization, we have to break that piece out as well. And that's what I'm doing right here. So you'll see here's his salary. Then the next would be what are the taxes, for the organization, which is 0.375 that the organization has to pay it. And then that gives you your total cost, right? So if I take this 43.
Hey, Rod, can you take your screen down, please?
Yeah. I need to stop sharing. Okay.
Isaac,
Yeah, I'm back.
did you come to a full complete thought, or did we just cut you off?
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So here you see right now. All right, so that's his total cost on the weekly, on the 15th and 30th. That's his salary for the month. And those are the FICA Social Security taxes to the organization. And that's our total cost right there. So that's the organization's total cost. Then if I come over here on an annual basis, 52,000. This is the total cost to the organization right there. Because that's salary, 52, plus the FICA Social Security. So that's the organization's total cost.
All right, let me interject and try and make this, because Isaac's giving the detailed version. Actually, the city kind of clued me into this when they asked me to look at the fringe. For a W-2 employee, the rate is about, well, actually it's 15.3%, and the employee splits the cost. That's where Isaac is getting the 7.65%. And the employer splits the other cost. If I were a 1099, I'd pay the full cost. And what happened is this kind of reflected me being a 1099 as opposed to a W-2. But the city kind of pointed this out. They were talking to us about this, and they said, Rod, just take a look at the fringe. And we did have a conversation with the city, and they kind of cleared up what this number should be. So we thank them for kind of catching it. Clearly, it works out in my favor. But the thing is that we were charging me all of that amount, which we should have been charging me half. And going forward, for an employee, we have to make sure we're at least doing not just the salary that was offered, but the salary plus the employer's share of the Social Security.
I think that's a really good point, and I'm gonna follow up on Wendy's comment that this is more in the weeds than we need to get. We're talking about $2,000 or $3,000 about
Right.
taxes. So we're gonna update the financials. We'll vote on it next month. Let's move on to the next topic. Unless anyone has any other questions about the financials not related to the salary issue.
I just wanted to make note in the financials where it showed the negative 147,000. That is just what we haven't collected to date. Just want to make note if anyone was wondering what that was. And then we can move on if there's not any other questions.
Yeah, that's total budget less what's been collected. So that's what's hopefully in July and August collections will come in. Which
we have had conversations in our last meeting about the potential for a late and lost collection this year. And we will keep everyone abreast as we receive those deposits.
Thank you.
Okay.
Rod,
So-
you want to?
Yeah, Isaac, you're sharing, Isaac?
Yeah, if you want to go through the financials as of June. Or are you done with that? Don't need.
Yeah, I had kind of gone through them. Greg, this is your call.
I think we've gone through them. We're going to look at again at them next month.
Okay.
So let's move on to the budget, Rod.
Okay. I've covered the budget compensation issue. One of the things I neglected to do when we voted on the budget and the services last week, I neglected to ask us to vote on the SECC as the service provider. So we do need to take that vote and have that recorded in the minutes. If someone could make the, if someone could
So moved.
go ahead and make the proposal.
Before we make that proposal, can I just ask if anyone would like to talk about alternatives to the SECC, alternative managers? Okay.
Well, wouldn't you make a motion, someone second it, and then you have the discussion? Because you haven't voted on it at that point.
Okay. So Charles, sorry to cut you off then. It sounds like we're ready to make that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Let's discuss. Would anyone have any alternative ideas to having alternative to the SSCC? People who should be considered to manage the program for us?
I think if we were going to have that conversation, we would have had that conversation months ago. I don't really feel as though we have enough information about any other organization that might even be interested in being the service provider. So,
well, let me ask differently. Is anyone not? We could launch into a more in-depth review of our options. But if everybody is already happy with the SECC, I'm not sure that we need to divert our time into that review. Are you uncomfortable with that, Wendy, or do you feel like we need to do that review?
I seconded the motion, so I am in full support of the Southeast Chicago Commission remaining the service provider.
Does anyone have any concerns that would want us to hold off on taking this vote? No concerns?
I would kind of follow what Wendy was saying. I think we should have dealt into this earlier. It probably should come up a month or so before the expiration or the vote for accepting them. So I think we're too far into it, and I think SEC, they have done a great job. And I don't think this is the proper time to look at a replacement.
I would also add that to my knowledge, there hasn't been an expression by any other organization who's interested at this point. In the past, when we have had these discussions, it's because other organizations have expressed an interest in serving that role. Then we investigated, and it was a 2 to 3 month process. But I'm not aware of anyone who's come forward to say that.
All right, let's take a vote. All in favor of SECC continuing to be our service provider, please say aye. Yay.
Aye.
Aye.
This is an online vote. You need to find a way to actually record it. You need to tally the votes for an issue like this.
Please make sure that only commissioners are voting.
Yeah, Karen's right. Make sure only commissioners are voting, and that's why we take a tally vote that Ramon usually calls the roll, and each commissioner responds.
Sure. Anthony Beach.
Aye.
Greg Gutman. Aye. Angie Marks.
Aye.
Shaka Mitchell. You're not here. Charles Newsom.
Aye.
James Nurse.
Aye.
Mary Rogel.
Aye.
Nancy Stanek. Eric Thompson.
Aye.
Wendy Williams.
Aye.
Excellent.
Wait,
Uh,
wait,
What about
wait,
George?
wait. Wait. You skipped.
He was
from
just
I-
saving,
I-
he's saving the best for last.
Yes. George Rumsey.
Affirmative.
I must let you all know that you have people voting that are not commissioners, officiated by Jennifer in this office.
Karen, nobody
So-
voted here who was not a commissioner.
Okay. Rod, I need to talk to you about that.
Okay. Motion is approved.
Okay.
Rod, let's
Very-
get it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Greg.
Anything else on financials before we move on to programs?
Just very quick, we talked and have been talking about the late assessor bills. That was something that Diane and Isaac talked about. That's coming up. I had a meeting with my counterparts and we are all really concerned. So what we might be doing is, after talking amongst ourselves, try and take the temperature of the commissioners so that we can all maybe just speak with one voice to the city or the county to let everyone know just how concerned we are and how this is really impacting us financially. So that's it in terms of the financials. Any questions?
So Rod, what is it that you're asking us to do?
In the next several months, the tax bill is going to be delayed. The disbursement that we get in August is going to be delayed. We don't know how long it's going to be delayed. What we're doing on our end is we're keeping a real close eye on the budget. We're only spending as much as we can the things that we are contractually obligated to spend. But as we get closer and closer, and I'll let all the commissioners know where we are financially, there might be some decisions to be made where we can't spend money on projects we haven't committed those dollars to. This is a warning we've given before and we'll continue to give it. But until we get that disbursement, all of the things that we put in the work plan for 2022, we may not be able to complete them all. So it's more or less, we'll present the options and have you all as commissioners make the decisions on how to go forth with spending.
Said differently, we're in a little bit of a pickle here because we don't want to spend money that we don't have. And if we don't get the money until Q4, then that means that we're spending a lot of money and we can't roll over more money, meaning we'll be forced to spend all of our money in a 60-day period. And that's probably not the most efficient use of our resources. So I think, Rod, you want to get the temperature and make sure that everyone also feels is concerned or feels this is a.
One is concern, and two is my counterparts are really trying to sound the alarm that some of us are in real trouble.
Yep.
So we need to make our voices a little bit louder and say we need some help.
And while not ideal, if we're able to roll over a larger amount of money, that sort of would be one solution. Yes?
Well, before we get into that, I know we in the SCCC, we have a line of credit that we can tap into, and many of the SSAs have that. We'd rather not do that because that's money with a cost. The next thing is to go into programs because we can't do anticipatory tax loans. We can't do bonds. Ours is the paycheck. We can't use the credit card. So without belaboring it, this is make everyone aware. We're taking contingencies on the part of the SECC, but we may have to make those choices, get that money and spend it in 60 days. Let's try and find the best ways to do that.
So if I can reiterate, you're basically informing us, but there's no action we need to take at this moment.
Correct. just to be aware and know that in the following months, we may have to take some quick action and change some priorities. Karen, who's on the call, and Mark have been talking to us about a lot of this. They've given us as much support as they can. But this is an issue with the assessor. When they get the assessor and the board of review in the county, when they get that straight, we'll have a clear path on where we will be able to go forward on this.
Rod, given our current run rate, do you have a sense of and our budget for the year, when we want to spend money and what we want to spend money on? What point do you think we'll be forced to either pull that line of credit or stop spending?
I gave a projection in an earlier meeting using George's budget tracker, and I predicted that somewhere in the October, November timeframe, we'd probably run out of money. We got a larger disbursement back in March. We had some carryover, but if nothing changed, we might make it to October, November. I'm going to do a reassessment because we now have actuals coming in.
Okay, and you're not putting the brakes on the spending today, right? We're going according to the plan.
Well, I won't say not putting on the brakes. We're only spending really what we're contractually obligated to spend.
What about, are we spending what we have budgeted to spend?
If
In
we're
some categories,
contractually,
yes.
right, yeah, if we're contractually obligated, it's within the budget.
I would add to the discussion based on the budget tracker and Isaac's finances that we have 111,000 in the bank, and we're averaging spending 18,000 a month. So, divide that and you'll see that we should be good for another 5 to 6 months. Ending up bankrupt at that point, pretty much spending it down by that point. But we do, at our current rate of spending, we should be able to clear through till December.
Yeah, I'll do a reassessment on that. The bigger bills, the Clarence Davids, the power washing, all those bills are beginning to come in now.
Sure.
So, and this is when we traditionally spend, in the summer months.
Yep.
Yes, and in addition, we have not entered any new additional contracts for some of the fall vendors. So that way it gives us that flexibility. As the executive director of the service provider, I'm fully confident we will not overspend, and we will only spend what we collect, and that has been approved in our budget.
I want to add that I'm also concerned that we underspend. I mean, our job is to provide services. So if we end the year and we haven't provided all the services that our members were expecting, that's also a loss for us. So I don't think that we should hold up spending money according to the plan we've already created. I think we should know in the back of our mind in 5 months, we may be in a position where we have to pull a line of credit if the city doesn't pay us money, or we have to stop spending, or we have to figure out the issue of rollover funds. I guess so.
You summarized it perfectly.
Okay, let's move on then.
Okay.
Farmers market.
The farmers market, I invite everyone to come out to the farmers market. It's in full swing. I've been there most Sundays. Lon and Diane they've carried on the lion's work of doing that. So we're seeing some very good success with our farmers market. So if you all can, please stop by, please support the farmers market. The viaduct project, this is something that Chairman Greg, you and I have been in discussions with. In lieu of what we were talking about with the finances, we are looking at an interim step, and that's sprucing up the viaducts. So what I've been doing is I've gone and I've taken assessment of the viaducts, and we're looking into maybe some other financing options. As opposed to letting the SSA take that on, we might be able to partner with other sources. That's something that I have to look into. And finally, the program committee meets every Tuesday. I'm sorry, the first Tuesday of the month, and that's going to be August 2nd, 10 a.m. by via Zoom. We had Mary and Anthony, a very robust discussion about projects and really focusing on projects. If we can, for any of our new projects, the program committee is the proper vehicle for that. And I would just like to continue to do that work and really look at the projects, whatever we've got going this year that we haven't started, and next year, and just really put a lot of that energy into the program committee. So if anyone is looking to get into the nuts and bolts of some of the programs, please attend that meeting. Any questions regarding the programs?
Let's talk reconstitution.
Reconstitution. The committee is pretty much complete. Greg, you and I have to talk about that a little bit more in depth. I have to get together a packet to send out to the committee. We're actually 1 month away from when the season officially starts. I wanted to jump the gun and start it this month, but we had to take care of some other things as well as reconstitution. I've also reached out to a number of my counterparts who have also reconstituted. And I've got at least a couple of people who are willing to walk me through the process, let me know what were some of the things that they encountered, some tips, and really just how to really guide me through a reconstitution. So I feel really good about that. I feel really good about the people that have said yes, and I feel good about the process. Our reconstitution will officially start in September in terms of the city. We should be done with that process. Right now, the main thing is to look for a consultant who will guide us through this process. So those are the main priorities with reconstitution. Any questions on that? And for some of the committee members who are here, it's coming and it's coming soon. So I'll be in contact.
Thanks. We covered most of what I wanted to say. I guess I just though want to add to Rod's earlier comment about the programming committee and looking for additional projects to take on. I know we just looked at the financials, but just to summarize, our spending goes towards 5 things. We have the customer attraction, which is mostly social media, website, farmers market. And we've got public way aesthetics, which is garbage and landscaping. So that's where all of our, and everything else is spent on personnel or SSA management or things that the city requires us to do to stay in business. So, I think this committee is looking for ways to make a lasting impact. And anyone who wants to participate to suggest more ideas, I think please do.
Commissioner Greg, I would like to say in terms of those categories, they're broken down that way. The city requires us to report them that way. It's really standardized across all of the SSAs. But I would like us to take a look at those 5 components and reimagine them in ways that would benefit us. Customer attraction is how do we bring more people to the SSA? Aesthetics and sustainability is what do they see when they get here? Public safety, we know that means a number of things. How do people feel when they get here? And business, economic development, what support do we give to our businesses? So while the city has it broken down into those categories, it's easy for the city to go through and say, okay, SSA 61, SSA 29, SSA, these are the things that are standardized. But those categories, especially as we go through the reconstitution, we need to reimagine those titles and really talk about what they mean to us and how do we bring vitality to the district.
Sure, but categories aside, all of our money that is spent towards services are spent farmers market, website, social media, events, garbage, landscaping. That's what we've done this year. That's the actual dollars spent.
I understand that. I think we can do a better job of making it. I mean, we still have to do many of the same things, but I think we have to kind of do something to make people see the value in that and add a little bit more while we're doing the same things.
Anyone else want to add before we move on? Okay, questions and comments from the commissioners? Any commissioner?
I just have an uplifting comment. I was keep waiting on to see what Graves is going to say about moving back from the gate. I thought we was going to lift off. You look like the captain that's going to take us out of here. So just a little uplifting comment. Were we going to push away from the gate or not? Okay, that was my comment.
It's appreciated. All right, let's adjourn. We'll see you guys next month, August 23rd. We're gonna do it Zoom, even though I'm still looking for the opportunity for us to all meet in person. Next month's meeting, we're gonna do virtually, continue to do virtually. So thank you guys very much for participating today. Appreciate your time. Have a good day.